Of course, one of the techniques in mammography is tomosynthesis. To be honest, the topic of tomosynthesis is that you are not just taking a projection or a one-dimensional image. The idea is that you rotate the X-ray tube and start taking your images or begin scanning the breast, scanning the you start to examine thoroughly from a different angle. Essentially, the concept or idea is that in this subject matter, you take detailed cross-sections of the breast that can be as extremely thin as 1 millimeter. In essence, as if you are literally dividing the breast or taking several slices inside the breast itself, allowing you to see the breast in slices in a manner that is almost like in a way that allows for detailed examination. What age is it? The idea is that this, of course, provides more discovery for the breast than regular mammography. But the point is that it gives you more discovery, meaning in many cases, it is present. In regular mammography, for example, in a case like this is the normal screening using scan one view and not tomosynthesis. In this case, you might see a specific problem or lesion, and you may have doubts about whether this is a problem or a mass, or if there is a specific tumor present inside the breast. Because you take different sections of the breast, it becomes clear that this part is considered something like parenchyma and represents different choices, not sections present in the breast. Such things appear to you in the normal projection or in regular mammography as if they are imprecise mammary nodes. However, when you work with tomosynthesis and take sections, it shows you that it is a speculated mass in this way. In fact, there are many cases and in peers discussing this topic and the importance of tomosynthesis in false negatives and false positives. In some cases, it may say that this case is negative, but it turns out to be false, or this case is positive, and it is considered a false positive for you. This is honestly very important, and there are many people talking about this topic and the significance of tomosynthesis. For example, in a case like this, where there are no abnormalities, you might expect a specific problem with tomosynthesis to show as a speculated mass. Here, for example, you could say that there is a lesion or problem, while this might be considered fibrocystic changes or fibroadenoma as seen with ultrasound. Meanwhile, if there is a lesion present, tomosynthesis shows it better and indicates that it is a speculated mass. So, what is the idea behind tomosynthesis? The idea behind tomosynthesis is that I take different angles or different projections. For example, this is a normal projection, which is the candor ventricular or vertical to the L wrist. For me, this is my only normal one. For instance, I have a zero angle. You can see here that there are two lesions, and these two are superimposed on each other, meaning they are overlapped. In this case, you get a signal here on your image receptor, and you cannot differentiate between these two lesions that are present. In this case, when you take different angles, there are devices that can help you, even devices that can assist you. It's yours. Okay, this is also the type of machine that exists. In summary, from the specific angles, you can observe the two entities and perform differentiation by looking at them. On the other hand, at 25, you can see them in this way, allowing you to access more details from the tomosynthesis. This is the advantage of tomosynthesis. You can obtain images that provide more details for diagnosis and help you in the diagnosis process, enabling you to understand the nature of the tumor or lesion present in your image. As I mentioned, I can obtain higher details by taking different angles. For example, I can reach a certain section or slice. The idea, as I said again, is that I can create a report or a different report. So I take a different report and there is a difference between the existing devices, which allows me to see them better. As we saw in the examples provided, by the way, the examples we take come from many existing devices and several published papers. The importance of tomography is significant. The whole idea, as we mentioned, is that in the imaging process itself, I start by taking angles in the regular projection. Here is the detector, and here is the X-ray. You have two options. Either the X-ray tube moves with the detector, or the detector remains stationary while the X-ray tube moves. This obviously changes the shape of the image itself. Because when you move in this way, for example, if you fix the detector, it's like taking the image obliquely as opposed to both moving at the same angle. You would have taken an image of the same area, but at a different angle. This, of course, depends on the protocol of the place or the protocol used for imaging, especially if you have a specific detail you want to see in your image that is present in the devices available. The angle present, for example, as I mentioned, in some machines is from 15 to 15, and in some things it is from 25 to 25. Of course, this is also among the features in the machines that you might be aware of, and it will definitely make a difference, especially in the cost or price of the machine itself. All right, this is, for example, what is available. Here you also control the compression instead of moving the right or left. Just a moment, I will show you the movement of the gantry itself while it remains stable. It moves like this during the scan. Here the detector and the X-ray tube move together. The detector leads while the X-ray tube moves. For example, in a specific view, you might want to move and take a cross-section image like this. The image appears in this way, and if you scroll through the images, it's just like when we were looking at CT images exactly. As it scrolls through the available images, of course, this adds to, of course, and increases as if it were the image is just right, as if you are doing it and seeing your own, the pros and cons, the advances and disadvantages, as we mentioned, enhanced lesion detection, which reduces false positives that may occur. It provides precise localization for the lesions present in the image. However, if you increase the radiation dose, especially if you have implants or surgical clips, you will notice significant artifacts because you took a small cross-section. The artifacts will be important compared to taking the whole image, resulting in a smoother image with fewer artifacts. This also leads to a longer interpretation time. Additionally, the image will require high storage capacity because, for example, you might take an image of 1024 as/unknown 24 pixels, which is a high-res image. If we assume that each pixel is 1 byte, 8 bits, then when we talked before, I mentioned that I have the image. Each pixel has a certain number of pixels, which can be 8 or 12, depending on the number of gray values I want. Naturally, the higher this number, the better your grayscale will be, allowing you to differentiate between low contrast objects in the images. Therefore, through the imaging process, I need a high comparison between the two present, which means I want a high bit number. Let's assume I have 8 bits. This means that 1 byte corresponds to 8 bits. For example, if I have a storage capacity of several gigabytes or terabytes, this indeed comes from the fact that every 8 bits is considered 1 byte. This means that if I have 1000 pixels, it would require 1000 bytes for the image. To store it, which is approximately 1 megabyte, means the image size is 1 megabyte. So if I have, for example, 10 images, that would be 10 megabytes. That's why, for instance, you find that a CT image, especially because there are many slices, requires your hard drive to be large. Why? Because each image is heavier than regular images since it contains more information. Therefore, you need a large hard drive to accommodate the size of these images. For example, if you are in a place and want to know about your hard drive, you might say, I want to choose a hard drive. You can ask the engineer, for instance, the seller who is selling you the device, and say, what is the capacity of this hard drive? He might tell you, well, this hard drive is, for example, 1 terabyte. So 1 terabyte is... You need to create this case quickly with 10 images. Each image size may be 10 megabytes. I have how many images? 10 images, and the size of each image is this much, so it would be megabytes. For example, 10 times 1, which equals 10 megabytes. If you need to know how many cases this hard drive can store, you can divide the terabyte by the number of megabytes per case, which will give you the number of patients you can store on the hard disk. This is a simple but important calculation. Sometimes you might work on a machine and find that it says full capacity, and you will have to delete everything. Companies sell and buy based on these specifications, meaning they provide you with certain specifications according to what they profit from. They might say, I have a hard drive with a specific storage capacity, and these become drawbacks and issues present in the machine that you need to be aware of. We talked about the differences present and the importance of tomosynthesis in clarifying some findings that do not appear in standard 2D mammography, but are very clearly visible in tomosynthesis. And the ordinary chamber, but the luting is very, very, very clear in the CT scans. We'll talk about